Alright boys, in today's video, we are going to be going over the Grand Crusade Episode 3 EX bosses. Okay, get through it real quick. I have beaten all 5 of them. And, just a little flex here real quick. If we go to EX5 and we go to the leaderboards, you already know where this is going. There is only 4 people on Global who have beaten the EX5 boss at the time of making this video. And if you look right here, your boy is number 1. I have the fastest clear on the EX5 boss fight right now. So, just a little bit of flex, but, you know, I had to do it. I had to. Okay. And now, I'm going to try to be as fast as possible about this so it doesn't get boring. But, there's a lot of things to go over about this boss. So, obviously, it gets harder and harder the further you go. And, the bosses are locked behind areas. So, the area list, you have to get to certain areas before you unlock the bosses. For EX1, that's 5. EX2, that's 10. EX3, it's 20. EX4, it's 50. EX5, it's 100. So, to effectively beat Episode 3 of Grand Crusade, it's endless, but to effectively beat it, all you have to do is beat Area 100 and then beat the EX5 boss, and you've pretty much beaten everything you can. So, quickly, very, very quickly, we're going to go through everything. We're going to start with the hardest one, and here we go. This is all you need to know about him. So, very, very important. He does not have lifesteal resistance. You can use lifesteal equips and units against the EX5 boss and all of the EX bosses. And that is extremely important because right here, his main gimmick, Party's Arts gauges only increase from Regalia and damage taken. So if we go here and you're confused about that Regalia part, Regalia level, click on my Okaroon. Right here at the bottom, this is the Regalia they're talking about. HP regen by 500 and autofills Arts gauge by 23 every 7 seconds. So this is one of 2 ways to get Arts gen in the EX bosses. So if we go to the EX boss, we go back. The other way to get Arts gauge is damage taken. So you want to take damage. And you know, I'm no genius, but if we are taking damage to get Arts, you're going to want a healer so you don't just die. Makes sense, right? Makes sense to me. Okay. So your team comp is going to need a healer. You're also probably going to want a tank of some sort. And for that tank, I'm going to recommend the first 4. I would recommend a damage mitigation tank. And then on the last one, I would recommend a taunt tank, but you can maybe get away with a damage mitigation tank. And I'm going to tell you why right now. Because if we go to the boss, it has this attack, regularly attacks with poison bottle. Okay, and the likelihood of you getting hit with the poison is higher in EX5. So there is a pretty high chance all 4 of your units are going to get poisoned. And this isn't a normal poison. This is a very strong poison. And it plays into this damage taken. So you don't want to cleanse it. You want to keep the poison. So you're taking damage from it. And then you are constantly getting arts from it. And then you have your healer constantly heal you. So it's just a constant stream of arts gen and damage taken, healing up, all that. And then you have your shield that you're going to hide behind so you're not actually going to die. But the issue is with the first 4, they are extremely unreliable of poisoning all 4 of your units. So I would recommend just using a damage mitigation tank because then you have a longer time to get poisoned for all 4 units. But with the EX5, I would recommend getting all 4 of your units poisoned. And then as soon as that happens, use your taunt. And keep going through it. He also has a hate gauge. So I can show you what that looks like real quick. We're just going to hop into a fight real quick. I'm not going to play it out. I'm just going to show you what the hate gauge is. So hopping right into it. So on the icons right here, the left side of the icon, watch the left side. You can see this little red bar rising. That is the hate gauge. The higher it is, the more damage your units are going to take. So Shuna's is low. She's not going to take as much damage. Okaroon is going to be taking the most damage here. So let me show you why this is important if you are going to use a taunt tank. Very specifically if you're going to use a taunt tank. Think about it. Your taunt tank, you want their hate gauge to be as low as possible because then they're not going to take extra damage. So we go to Toma and... Sorry, click the wrong button. Go to Siphon, Toma, and then go to your DPS and you're going to want to give Toma's damage up to your DPS or whoever your taunt tank is because you don't want them to be doing damage or their hate gauge is going to increase and then they will take more damage. That is a little tip and trick to maximize this, because previously this morning I didn't have that done and I kept dying because Toma was doing too much damage and then his hate gauge was too high and the boss would just kill him instantly. But once I did that, I have not lost sense. So very, very useful. Definitely do that if you are using a taunt tank. Another thing to check out is take reduced dark damage. So do not bring a dark DPS. They won't do as much damage. Don't bring Hajime, don't bring Shadow, none of them. There's plenty of other good DPSs, especially my boy Okarun. He's very, very busted. And then these other things, I'm going to quickly go through the stuff that matters. None of them matter too much, but right here, this one's kind of important. When using grab, targets in a cycle starting with unit furthest left in the party. So your first unit is going to be the first unit that gets grabbed. So I would recommend putting your taunt tank there if you're going to use a taunt tank, or whoever your tank is, because usually they have a little bit of extra DR compared to everybody else. They are a little bit tankier. So this grab and slam does do a lot of damage. So sometimes if I had Shuna in that first slot, she would just die. So I swapped it to put Toma in that first slot, and he is completely fine. He is not even getting close to dying. And then more things to go over. He has a rage mode. So when he enters rage, he's going to keep spamming his attacks. So you're going to want to bring a feint, paralyze, or break. And out of those three, I would heavily recommend just bringing an equip that has paralyze, because fainting equips aren't very reliable. Breaking means you would have to bring a break unit, which just takes away a slot. So I would heavily recommend just bringing an equip that has paralyze on it. Probably the easiest way to go. And you don't even need to cancel his rage mode. It's not that important. But if you think it's a problem and he keeps spamming it way too much and he's dealing way too much damage to you, just bring a paralyze equip and it should fix the problem. And as far as him, I think that's all we're going to talk about. But it does get harder as you go. These ones are pretty easy. Now we're going to talk about some things you should do to set up. So obviously I've already mentioned you should be using a tank and you should be using a healer. Okay. But right here, you will see I have some pretty goofy equips going. We have Grief, which is going to deal 25% of my own HP. We have Divine Arachnid Steers, which is going to deal 99% of a target's HP. And we have Geo Cradle, which is going to cost 5% of my max HP every second for 50 seconds. And we have Silent Treasure, which is 15% of all allies' HP. So, if you remember correctly, you are going to increase your arts the more damage you take. These equips count. So, every second, 5% of my HP being gone, that's just Arch Gen. For free. So make sure you're using these equips if you have them. Also make sure you're using lifesteal equips if you have them. Like if I could just throw in a Goblin Slayer's Dagger for lifesteal, and this man would be extremely healthy all the time. Because Okarun does a stupid amount of damage. 1% lifesteal is just constant full heal. And then remember, we have our Paralyze equip. And for healing equips, pretty important. You're going to want to heal just to make sure, you know, that's just more Arch Gen, because you're taking a bunch of damage. You're going to want to heal so you don't die, one, and so you can keep taking more damage. It works perfectly. And then over here on Toma, we just have our GC equips that are going to make him pretty much unkillable. And with our defense equip, if you don't have a GC equip, I'm going to recommend physical DR or water DR or just basic DR. Either of those three will be very helpful in this fight. If you're not using any of those three, they won't help in this fight. So just make sure you're using one of those three. As far as equips, I think that's pretty much it. But let me show you a little trick. You can go here, go to the tag, scroll down to self-damage. All three of these will have equips that do self-damage. So right here we have all the equips that are going to do self-damage. So boom, extremely helpful. They're going to work very well in this fight. And once again, we go to self-damage. Percentage self-damage, same thing. A bunch of equips that do percentage-based self-damage. Very helpful in this fight. Make sure you're using those. It'll just speed it up a lot. But be careful, because if you are at 1 HP and you use a Grief, it will just kill your unit. So just don't do that, and you should be fine. As far as equips goes, I think that's it. And team comps, we already talked about it. For the first four, I would say a damage mitigation tank like Shiro, Albedo, Beta, any damage mitigation tank. For EX5, I would recommend a taunt tank. For damage dealers, anybody who is not a dark unit is fine. And then you just need a healer. Shuna is a very, very good healer. But you could get away with using any healer. There's a couple people, I think somebody used Heart in one of these clears? Yeah, heart. So you don't even need like the greatest healers in the game like Shuna. You can use heart. Who, I mean, yeah, he's still a really good healer, but he's been a little bit power crept. So as far as team comp and equips go, there you go. Now we're actually going to get into the boss fight. All right, so we're in the fight. First thing we're going to do is use both of our Griefs and then Silent Treasure and wait till he stomps. Then we're going to use our Divine Arachnid's Tears on our Shield and our Shuna because they don't have these Geocradle and Grief to deal damage. So we're just going to bring their health down a little bit to give them some arts up. Make sure they don't die with the heal equips. Heal with Shuna. And from here on out, basically, you just need to get poisoned. So getting poisoned is very important, especially in the EX5 fight. If you're going to use a taunt tank, you need to get the whole team poisoned. If they're not going to get poisoned, just quit and leave. So by the time he does his first pounce, if my whole team isn't poisoned, I just reset. So here we did get all 4 of them to get poisoned. Very, very important. And now we can use our taunt because this poison should last the whole fight. So we're just going to keep spamming. And after one more round of True Arts, now we're going to use 1 Super Art. And that should hopefully clear to the threshold. So that Super Art should take us to the threshold. We'll just use a True Art with this one. And plenty of damage right... come on, bro. You got to pounce right there. There we go. Plenty of damage. And keep using our Griefs. This is going to give us even more arts. All right. Come on, Shuna. We need some health. Okay, and then more Super Arts. We're going to use 2 of them right now. And this should take us to the next threshold. Hopefully. Of course he had to pounce, bro. That's so stupid, but whatever. Just gotta hang in there. So it's not gonna be too fast of a clear, but we should still be able to get the clear. So here he does faint the whole team. Sometimes this happens. Kind of unfortunate when it happens, whatever. He is now in rage mode. We are going to try and paralyze him. It's not a 100% chance, but it did work. So now we're going to use our Super Arts, and hopefully they do a bunch of damage. And this should take us to threshold. Not quite. We're going to have to spam a couple True Arts here. And refresh our Super Art with Toma, just to give us a little bit more extra damage. And there we go. We are to the threshold. I'm actually going to let his HP go down. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay. So we are good right now. Heal with Shuna, and then double Super Art with Okaroon. Refresh our barrier. This should take us to the final threshold. We are just going to hold off a second. Yep, took us to the final threshold. We are going to wait. It did not actually take us to the final threshold. What? It's literally right there, bro. Okay, and then we want our Toma's HP to be a little bit low so he gets his toe passives. Okay, and then one more double Super Art out of Okaroon should do the trick. And just in case we are going to do that, just to get a little bit of extra damage out of him. Okay, and this should definitely kill. As long as the pounce doesn't mess us up. Come on, boys. There we go. That's EX5 down. So definitely not my fastest clear. It was a little slow. There was a couple things I could have done a lot better. Timing is kind of important sometimes, but you do not need to be perfect to fight this boss to kill it. There you can see all my regalia levels and some of the rewards you get. They're not that crazy. But there's the damage. The boy Okaroon is absolutely insane. And yeah, that's the EX boss. They are easier and easier. But with the initial ones, I will say they are even more unpredictable. I do not like them. I think they are harder than the EX5 for me personally. Like, they're not actually harder. But at the time of progression, if you don't have an equip like Divine Arachnid's Tears that's going to give you like instantly 200 arts, it's going to be a little bit harder, because this is just going to give you a ton of arts immediately, and then you can just use an Okaroon Super Art, kill the boss. But if you don't have equips like these that have the passives and the abilities that they have to take away your HP, which in EX fights gives you arch gen, you're kind of screwed. But you might have to make a more sustained focused comp that doesn't have equips like this. It's going to be a bit of a fight, but I believe you should be able to do it. And once you get to EX5, it's a little bit easier just because you will get reliably poisoned like every fight. Like it should happen. And then once you get poisoned, once all four of your units get poisoned, you can just keep spamming heals and spamming your taunt tank, and you should be completely fine. You should be able to survive most things. Just make sure you have your DR up all the time. Make sure you're doing tons of damage. And he does deal more damage the more he spams some of these. Like hammer attack deals more damage with each use. So just keep trying to spam his as much as possible. Try to do as much damage as you can. And try to time things. But if you do mess them up, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. And very important, siphoning. Regalia level. Before, all of my units they had C stats. And I was not beating the EX5 boss with C stat units. So I had to get my damage dealers up to B stats. I had 5 teams previously. Now I only have 2 teams with Okaroon on each. Summer Luvia and Rin, HK Roy, Shiro, Toma, Hoka, and then Shadow. So you can see on HK Roy I have all C's. Because this is what all of my units look like. But then I siphoned everything, all the damage into my Okaroons. And I siphoned all the DR into my taunt tank. So keep that in mind. You should be siphoning if you want to get these done very fast. But you also don't need to. You can just play the long game. But you're probably going to need to get well past area 100 if you're not going to siphon into the units you're using. Just try to siphon DR into your taunt tank and damage into your damage dealer. And that's pretty much all you should need. But I think that's it for this video, and yeah, good luck with Grand Crusade, good luck with your EX bosses. They are not too hard. In my opinion, this EX boss is easier than the last EX boss, because this EX boss, you actually needed accuracy up or evasion down, because it was a bird, and the birds are evil, so this one's not too bad. I'm glad he doesn't have Human Killer or something stupid like that, because it's Geo's Agnes. I guess this one, Frost Fortress Ozagun. It's Geo's Agnes, bro. But whatever. I don't know the lore implications behind the different giants. I apologize in advance. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord. The link is in my channel description. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope it helped all you guys out. If you have any more questions, anything specific, just leave a comment down below. And I'll try my best to answer them. And yeah, that's going to be it. See ya!